Imagine this. You're sitting in class, minding your own business, when suddenly the entire room goes into full-blown panic. Why? Because a massive human warship, no, a dreadnought, has just entered your space. You've heard the stories. Humans are tough, ruthless, and always ready for battle. Or are they? What if everything you thought you knew about humans was wrong? What if they weren't terrifying warriors, but something else entirely? And what happens when a calm, coffee-drinking human walks in and casually tells you that the warship you're freaking out about is just a delivery truck? Stick around, because things are about to get really strange. You'll never look at humans or pizza the same way again. The alien classroom was in total chaos. Aliens of all kinds were running around, staring at the big hologram in the middle of the room. It showed a huge human dreadnought, a massive spaceship, slowly coming closer. Bright red lights blinked around the hologram, and there was a countdown ticking down. Some aliens were flipping through thick manuals, others were shouting warnings in strange alien languages. There were aliens with long tentacles waving around, some with wings flapping nervously, and others whose eyes were spinning in panic. One alien with big round eyes rushed over to another, yelling, "We're doomed." Doomed? That's a human dreadnought. Do you know what that means? The second alien, a bit calmer but still scared, replied, "Of course I know. We have to get ready. Humans are dangerous. They'll probably use their diplomacy." It said the word like it was a terrible thing. In another corner, a smaller alien with one giant eye and long, thin arms was flipping through a survival guide. Shouldn't we be negotiating by now? I read humans like to negotiate. Or maybe they like games, the ones where they throw round balls at each other. Another alien, sounding even more scared, shouted from the back, "Games? There's no time for games. We need to offer them something. Humans like sacrifices, don't they? If we give them something, maybe they won't attack us." The whole room was filled with more panic as the aliens kept shouting out crazy ideas. Everyone was sure that this human ship meant the end of their world. They couldn't stop thinking about what strange, dangerous thing the humans might do next. The chaos in the room was suddenly interrupted when the door slid open with a soft hiss. The aliens all froze, their eyes locking onto the doorway. In walked a human, looking completely relaxed, holding a steaming cup of coffee. The human casually strolled into the room as if nothing was wrong at all. The aliens stared, not sure what to do. One of them, trembling slightly, managed to speak. Is that the human?" The human took a sip of coffee, glancing around at the panicked faces and smiled. "Hey, what's going on?" they asked, sounding more like they were walking into a casual hangout, not a room full of terrified aliens. An alien with too many eyes blinked nervously. "Ah, there's a dreadnought, a human dreadnought, right outside. It's coming closer." The alien pointed shakily at the giant hologram. The human glanced at the hologram, then shrugged. "Oh, that. Yeah, it's just Greg. Don't worry about it." The aliens stared, confused. One brave alien spoke up, voice shaking. "Greg? Who is Greg?" The human took another sip of coffee, completely unbothered. "Greg's the delivery guy. He runs the Dreadnought. Pretty chill guy, actually." The aliens didn't know how to respond. Delivery? Chill? Was this some kind of human trick? One alien, its voice trembling, asked, "So, he's not here to destroy us?" The human chuckled, waving their hand. "Nah, he's just bringing some stuff. Relax." Another alien, looking even more confused, spoke up. "But it's a dreadnought. Those are warships. Aren't they dangerous?" The human grinned, shaking their head. "Dangerous? Nah, not really. I mean, yeah, it's big. And it has a few. Let's call them toys. But it's mostly just for show." The aliens exchanged looks of total confusion. This human wasn't making any sense at all. Warships that were just for show. Delivery guys flying dreadnoughts. None of it fit with what they thought they knew about humans. The human, still calm and sipping their coffee, leaned back in the chair they'd just pulled out. "Look, you guys are way too stressed. Greg's not here to start a war. He's probably just bored and making his rounds. Trust me, it's not a big deal." The aliens didn't look convinced, but the humans seemed so relaxed that they didn't know what to think. Was this how humans always handled dreadnoughts? The confusion only grew. The humans seemed completely at ease. The aliens, still unsure what to make of this human's calm attitude, couldn't help but focus on everything the human did. The humans sipped from the strange cup they were holding, and one alien, with long antennae, leaned over to another and whispered, "What? What is that?" Some kind of human weapon. Another alien with far too many legs replied, "I don't know, but I heard humans consume all sorts of weird things. Maybe it's one of their toxins." The brave alien from earlier finally gathered the courage to speak again. "Excuse me, human. What is that you're drinking?" The human looked down at their coffee cup and raised an eyebrow. "This? Oh, it's just coffee. You know, bean juice. Gives you a little energy kick in the morning." The aliens gasped in unison, their eyes widening in shock. Bean juice. One of them squeaked, almost fainting. Another alien clutched their head with their tentacles. "I knew it. Humans get their energy from strange liquids. We're doomed." The human gave them a weird look and shrug, still unfazed. "You guys really need to calm down. It's just coffee. It's not going to hurt you." Suddenly, another alien pointed at the small device the human had pulled out of their pocket and was fiddling with. "What's that? Is that a detonator?" The human blinked, then looked down at the phone. "What this? No, it's my phone. I'm just checking Netflix. Got to see if the new episode dropped." The aliens all backed up, horrified. "Netflix? Is that some kind of human military program?" asked a very worried-looking alien, its voice barely more than a squeak. The human smirked. "Yeah, it's a program, but not the kind you're thinking. It's just TV shows and movies." This only seemed to confuse the aliens even more. "Movies? Shows? Are these battle strategies? Are we about to be indoctrinated?" One alien's tentacles flailed dramatically as they started to panic all over again. The human sighed, clearly trying to hold back laughter. "Guys, it's just TV. You know, entertainment. It's not some secret plot to brainwash you." Another alien looked more confused than scared. "Humans. Watch moving images for fun. Is that some form of training?" The human leaned back, shaking their head with a grin. "Not training. Just a way to relax after a long day." The aliens whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of what the human was saying. One alien turned to the others, nodding seriously. Relaxation must be part of their battle preparation. They lull themselves into a false sense of calm before launching their attacks. "Brilliant." The human face palmed, muttering, "Wow, you guys really overthink things, huh?" But the aliens continued to fret over every little thing the human did. The humans stretched their arms casually, and another alien gasped. "Are they preparing for combat? Look at the way their limbs move. It's a ritual of some kind." No. One alien said, trembling. "They're probably just stretching before a long space battle." The human finally burst out laughing, shaking their head. "Okay, this is getting ridiculous. It's just a stretch, guys. No battle, no rituals, just a stretch." But no matter how much the human tried to explain, the aliens couldn't stop panicking over every tiny action. From the way the humans sipped their coffee to the way they casually scrolled through their phone, every little human behavior seemed to make the aliens more nervous. The alien students were still buzzing with nervous energy, their eyes constantly flicking between the human and the hologram of the massive dreadnought hovering in space. One alien, twitching nervously, asked, "So, if that ship isn't here to destroy us, then what's it doing here?" The human took another sip of coffee, looking completely unfazed. "Oh, it's no big deal. Think of it like a pizza delivery truck." The entire room fell silent. Every alien was frozen, their brains trying to process what the human had just said. Finally, one brave alien spoke up, sounding completely confused. "A pizza delivery truck." The human nodded casually, as if it made perfect sense. "Yeah, you know, like when you order pizza and they bring it to your door. Except instead of pizza, we've got some, supplies. You know, the usual stuff. Weapons, food, maybe some new movies for the crew." The aliens stared in shock, their mouths hanging open. One alien with a particularly large head stammered, "Have you weapons?" And movies. The human waved it off. "Yeah, don't worry about the weapons. They're just for emergencies. Most of the time, we're just cruising around, maybe picking up snacks or whatever." The aliens didn't look reassured. In fact, they looked even more confused. One alien whispered to another, "Did they just compare a warship to a delivery vehicle?" The human, clearly entertained by their confusion, continued, "Or if pizza doesn't make sense to you, think of it like a school bus." The aliens exchanged even more bewildered glances. "A school bus," one of them repeated, utterly baffled. "Yeah, a school bus," the human said, nodding like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "We've got a bunch of tired soldiers in there, just like kids coming back from school. They're probably sleeping right now, maybe playing some games, trying to pass the time." An alien with a single giant eye stared in horror. "A bus full of warriors?" The human laughed, shaking their head. "Oh, come on, they're not going to fight you. They're just trying to get home. Think of it as a really, really big carpool." The aliens huddled together, whispering in frantic tones. One alien, looking like they were about to pass out, said, "A giant ship filled with battle-hardened humans, and it's just a carpool." The human shrugged, leaning back in their chair. "Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sure, it's got some big guns and fancy shields, but it's mostly for show. Like when you put a big spoiler on your car just to look cool." The aliens gasped again, utterly lost in their fear and confusion. One of them tried to understand. "So, it's all for style, like a decoration." The human chuckled. "Exactly. Humans love over-the-top stuff. It's not about being practical. It's about looking awesome. That's just how we roll." One alien, now visibly trembling, muttered, "Humans are terrifying. They turn warships into delivery trucks and school buses. We'll never understand them." Another alien added, "And they enjoy it. That's the scariest part." The human grinned, clearly amused by the aliens' reactions. "Nah, you guys are just overthinking it. Honestly, the Dreadnought is just a big floating metal thing with a lot of buttons. Half the time, we don't even know what half of them do." The aliens didn't know what to say. They had been preparing for war, and now this human was telling them that the massive Dreadnought outside was nothing more than a flashy ride, filled with tired soldiers and snacks. The alien students huddled together, trying to make sense of what the human was saying. Their minds raced, filled with confusion and panic. One alien with bright green skin and 3 long fingers raised a trembling hand. "So, let me get this straight. Your massive warship is just decoration. Like, you humans build these things just to look cool." The human, still casually sipping coffee, nodded with a smirk. "Pretty much. I mean, we like our stuff to be functional too. But if it doesn't look good, nah, we're not interested. You ever seen our cars? Half of them have giant spoilers for no reason." The aliens exchanged wide-eyed glances, as if they had just heard the most horrifying thing in the galaxy. One of them, clearly panicking, whispered, "They build deadly machines. Just for style. We'll never survive this." Another alien, who had been frantically scrolling through a database on their wrist device, suddenly spoke up. Wait, I've read about this. Humans have something called football." The alien's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. "It's a battle they fight for entertainment." The human blinked, then burst out laughing. "Football? You mean soccer?" "Yeah, it's a game. Kicking a ball around. It's not a battle." The aliens weren't convinced. One of them leaned in, speaking slowly as if they were explaining a huge discovery. "No, I've seen it. They fight over a small, round object. It's like a ritual. The strongest humans kick the ball, and whoever scores is victorious. It's clearly a battle for dominance." The human chuckled again, shaking their head. "Nah, it's just a sport. We run around, kick the ball, sometimes people get mad, but it's all for fun. Not some life or death thing. Although, you should see the crowds. That's where it gets intense." The aliens shivered, their minds racing again. One of them muttered, "Humans turn kicking objects into a competition for power. We don't stand a chance." Another alien, looking confused and curious at the same time, raised their hand. And what about this thing you call Netflix? Is it true you humans use it to prepare for battle? The human nearly spit out their coffee, laughing again. Netflix? No, it's just TV, movies, shows, stuff we watch when we're bored. The aliens gasped in unison, clearly misunderstanding the concept. You mean humans watch battles for fun? The human sighed, still smiling. Yeah, kinda. I mean, some of the shows have battles, but it's all fake. Actors, special effects, made up stuff. The aliens huddled closer, whispering frantically. One of them, wide-eyed, said, they watch simulations of war to relax. This is how they prepare. They study battles and strategies in their spare time. They must be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The human, now fully amused by the ridiculous misunderstandings, leaned back in their chair. You guys really don't get humans, huh? We're not that complicated. We like good food, bad TV, and the occasional game of football. That's about it. But the aliens weren't convinced. One alien with short, stubby arms raised a shaky hand. And what is pizza? Is it true that it's a vital part of human survival? The human paused for a second, then grinned. Well, now you're on to something. Pizza is serious business. You don't mess with pizza. In fact, it might just be the one thing that could unite the entire human race. The aliens gasped again, clearly taking this as another sign of how powerful and strange humans were. So, pizza is the key to human unity, and football is their training ground, and Netflix is their war education. The human couldn't help but laugh out loud again. Sure, if that's how you want to see it. The aliens, clearly overwhelmed by how bizarre and confusing human culture seemed, whispered amongst themselves. We'll never understand them. They make warships for style, they compete for sport, and their food is a source of power. The human just sat back, grinning from ear to ear, watching as the aliens spiraled into deeper and deeper misunderstandings about human life. It was almost too easy. The alien students were in full-blown panic mode now. After hearing about football, pizza, and Netflix, their misunderstanding of human culture had reached its peak. They huddled together, whispering in frantic tones, each one throwing out ideas for what they should do next. One alien, with bright yellow skin and twitching antennae, stood up and raised its voice. We have no choice. We need to defend ourselves. The human Dreadnought could attack at any moment, and their warriors are probably watching Netflix to prepare for battle right now. Another alien, covered in shimmering scales, nodded quickly. Yes, we must act fast. We need a plan to stop them. The human, still sitting calmly in the corner and sipping their coffee, raised an eyebrow. Wait, stop who? Greg and his crew. Guys, seriously, there's nothing to worry about. But the aliens weren't listening anymore. They were too wrapped up in their own fear. One alien, with long tentacles that waved dramatically, shouted, "We need to build a defense. Maybe we can send them a peace offering. Something humans like. What do they enjoy?" Another alien immediately responded, "Pizza. It's obvious. We have to create a pizza and offer it to the humans as a sign of goodwill." The human choked on their coffee, trying not to laugh. "You want to send a pizza to the Dreadnought? That's your big defense plan?" The aliens nodded seriously, completely missing the sarcasm. "Yes, exactly. We'll create the biggest pizza in the galaxy and send it over to their ship. They won't be able to resist it. It's the perfect distraction." One alien with multiple arms, who was furiously sketching on a holographic board, added, "We'll need a cheese layer 5 meters thick, and we should put their favorite toppings on it. I believe they enjoy pepperoni." Another alien piped up, "And footballs. We must place footballs on the pizza to show them we understand their culture." The human was practically in tears from laughter now, wiping their eyes as they watched the aliens spiral deeper into their ridiculous plan. Football pizza. You guys are killing me. This is your defense strategy. But the aliens weren't done yet. One of the more nervous ones, with shaky hands, suggested, "We also need to broadcast Netflix to their ship. That way, they'll be too distracted watching their shows to attack us." The others nodded in agreement, their eyes wide with excitement. "Yes, brilliant idea. We'll send them all the seasons of, what's that human show called? Friends. They won't be able to focus on anything else. The human, still laughing, leaned back and shook their head. So your grand plan is to send a giant pizza covered in footballs and string friends to the Dreadnought? That's what's going to save you? The aliens all nodded eagerly, their faces full of hope. Yes, they'll be so entertained and well-fed, they won't even think about attacking us. One alien, who had been pacing nervously, added, and if that fails, we can always challenge them to a football match. Humans love competition. If we win, maybe they'll spare us. The human couldn't take it anymore. They doubled over in laughter, gasping for breath. You want to challenge Greg's crew to a football match? You do realize they're just delivery guys, right? Not soldiers. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Delivery guys who have been trained through years of watching Netflix battles. They're probably masters of strategy by now. We need to prepare. The human, still grinning from ear to ear, waved their hand dismissively. Look, if you want to send a pizza and some Friends episodes, be my guest. But I promise you, Greg's not going to invade your planet. He's probably more interested in finding a good parking spot for that massive ship. But the aliens weren't listening. They had already started working on their ridiculous defense strategy, convinced that their giant pizza, football decorations, and Netflix marathon would be the only thing standing between them and total destruction. As the aliens scrambled to prepare their defense, the countdown on the hologram hit 0. The human Dreadnought finally docked, casting a large shadow over the alien classroom. The tension in the room was thick. Aliens nervously glanced at each other, their grand plan in motion. They had the giant pizza ready to be sent, a football was sitting on top, and the first episode of Friends was queued up, ready to stream. The doors to the classroom slid open, and in walked a human, slightly older than the human who'd been laughing at them all along. He was wearing a simple jumpsuit, looking a bit tired, and holding a bag of snacks. "Hey guys," the new human said, waving casually. "Sorry we're late. Traffic's a nightmare out there. Took us a while to park the Dreadnought. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to parallel park something that big." The aliens stared in shock. One of them whispered that's Greg? The original human grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. "Yep, told you. Greg, meet the class. Class, meet Greg. No war, no invasion, just a guy delivering some supplies." Greg looked around at the wide-eyed aliens, clearly not understanding the panic in the room. Are they okay? You guys look like you're expecting a battle or something." One of the aliens, too stunned to form proper words, stammered, "Don't you want about the Dreadnought, the giant warship?" Greg raised an eyebrow. "Warship? Oh, you mean the Titanus? Yeah, it's big, but it's just a cargo ship. We use it to haul stuff across the galaxy. You know, food, entertainment, snacks." The aliens were frozen, processing what they had just heard. Snacks. One of them squeaked. "Yeah," Greg said, opening his bag and pulling out a chocolate bar. "Snacks. You want one?" The silence in the room was deafening. After all their panic and wild plans, the reality hit them like a ton of bricks. The Dreadnought wasn't there to destroy them. It was just a giant delivery truck full of snacks. The alien with the twitching antennae finally broke the silence, looking utterly defeated. So, no invasion, no football battle, no destruction. Greg chuckled. "Nah, we're just here to drop off supplies and maybe watch a movie or two on the way back. Speaking of which, did you guys start watching Friends? Love that show." The aliens exchanged embarrassed glances, realizing how ridiculous their defense plan had been. The giant pizza they had made sat untouched, the football rolling off the top and onto the floor. One of the aliens, still in shock, muttered, "We thought you were here to destroy us. We even made you a pizza." Greg blinked in surprise. "A pizza? For us? Wow, thanks. That's really nice of you guys." He walked over to the pizza, grabbing a slice and taking a big bite. Not bad. You nailed the pepperoni." The human from earlier couldn't stop grinning, watching the aliens slowly come to terms with how unnecessary their panic had been. "See? Told you guys. Greg's harmless. Just a guy with a big ship and a big appetite." The aliens, now looking completely embarrassed, lowered their heads in defeat. We We didn't know. We thought humans were here to conquer us. Greg laughed, wiping his mouth. Conquer? Nah, we're just here for the snacks and the shows. Maybe a football game if we have time. The room was filled with awkward silence as the aliens realized how completely they had misunderstood everything. Finally, one alien whispered, "Humans are overly dramatic." The original human, still chuckling, stood up. "Yep, we are. But hey, at least you got a good pizza out of it, right?" The aliens sighed in unison, still too embarrassed to speak, while Greg happily ate his pizza, oblivious to the chaos he had unintentionally caused. As Greg finished his pizza, the alien students were still trying to recover from their embarrassment. They glanced nervously at the human, unsure of what to say next. The original human, clearly enjoying the moment, stood up and stretched. "Well, this has been fun," the human said, stifling a laugh. "You guys sure know how to throw a panic party. But next time, maybe skip the football pizza and friends marathon defense strategy." The aliens chuckled awkwardly, their eyes still wide with confusion. "We didn't know," one of them muttered. "We thought humans were these powerful, unstoppable warriors. We didn't realize you were just, well, this." The human grinned, nodding. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Thing is, humans are really good at one thing, being overly dramatic." Greg, still chewing on his pizza, nodded in agreement. "Yup, we tend to go all out, even when it's not necessary. You should see us on tax day. Now that is a real crisis." The aliens exchanged confused glances, still not understanding what tax day was, but the human waved it off with a smirk. "You don't want to know. Trust me." As the human turned to leave, they threw one last glance over their shoulder, a mischievous smile on their face. "But hey, if you ever need another pizza or a good football match, give us a call. We'll bring the snacks. Just don't expect us to conquer your planet or anything. Too much work." The aliens stood there, watching as the humans casually walked out of the room, Greg still munching on his pizza. After the door slid shut, one alien broke the silence with a deep sigh. "Humans, they really are overly dramatic." Another alien, still staring at the empty doorway, nodded in agreement, and confusing. The class let out a collective sigh, finally realizing that all their panic had been for nothing. But at least they'd learned one thing. Humans, while unpredictable, weren't the terrifying creatures they had imagined, just a bit too dramatic for their own good. So, after all that chaos, what did we learn? Humans, as it turns out, are more interested in snacks and TV shows than galactic domination. They might build giant ships, but they're just as likely to use them to deliver pizza as they are to wage war. But here's the real question. If we can misunderstand humans this much, what else in the universe are we getting wrong? What if those things we fear most aren't actually what they seem? The universe is a strange place, and humans are just one part of it. Stick with us for more mind-bending, hilarious stories about the mysteries of life, space, and the crazy things that bring us all together, like pizza, football, and a really good TV show.